The NHO Show.
You got that pressure.
It's an episode of the NHO Show. I'm your host, Storie.
And I'm Colin. Nice to see you guys. Well,
Talk
to you.
Nice to talk to you.
See you virtually.
Ooh, virtual reality.
I'm picturing you all smiling with some warm tea.
Ooh,
on a cold winter day.
Some hot chocolate, nestled by a roasty fire.
Some Baileys in there, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. We're getting, know, because you normally when you think of hockey, you think of beer, but hey, let's go with Baileys. We have water.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Anyway, on to some hockey talk, because that's what we're here to do and here to talk about. Let's start off by talking about teams closing the deal or not being able to close the deal, which is kind of more of the case as it may be, especially with our younger teams.
Right. Well, I was looking at an interesting stat actually earlier, and a big third period goals for and against obviously are a huge factor in a team's performance. So Columbus is doing pretty well this year, so far at least. And their goal differential last year was the worst in the league, or excuse me, third worst in the league with like minus 25 goal differential by the end. And right now they're sitting at even. So just being at even makes such a big difference. And Calgary, on the flip side, was the best team in goal differential in the third period with, I think, plus 26 last year at the end. And they're sitting at minus 8 right now.
So what do you think, why such the flip in stats?
Timely goaltending, is a big part of it. If the goaltender, if they can't be able to make the big save in the important time, that's what matters. Montreal is always at the top of the list, and that's probably
Absolutely.
Because of Carey Price. Carey
Price is unstoppable wherever you put him. He's just a wall. He's a gigantic wall that no one can penetrate.
He's just one of the most underrated things about goaltending is staying even keel and not getting too wound up during the game. So no matter what time it is in the game, he approaches the situation the same way every time, and he's just calm and collected. So that's a big part of it. And like you said, it's just one of those things. Young teams, it's bounce here and there. It's just a lot of it's luck, I guess. Too.
It is. And when you get a young team who has so much excitement and fire on the ice, who's literally creating puddles of water as they skate down the ice, and their fans are excited, their team is excited, and they get that lead, or maybe they don't get a lead at all, and they're but they're still on fire and they're still playing really well, and maybe they tie it up, and then the team goes into overtime, can't win it at overtime, then they go to a shootout, which is such a crapshoot. No team wants to go to a shootout. No goalie wants to face a shootout. But it's inevitable in the regular season. And it really is a crapshoot, because if you have terrible goaltending, you're not going to win. You can watch a Leafs game, and if it's tied at the end of the third and it goes into overtime, you can be guaranteed that game's going into a shootout, and you can be guaranteed the Leafs are going to lose. which is at this point, it's as a fan, if you're just a regular fan, you're probably shutting off the game at that point, because you know what's going to happen. You know how this story plays out.
Right.
And that's, and I think it's a symptom of having a young team who just, and shoddy goaltending, which is a disappointing factor.
Right. And there's certain, goalies can be really good at breakaways and shootout situations, but not so good in the game. So it really obviously favors the team, like Semyon Varlamov, for example. He is probably one of the best goalies in the league when it comes to breakaways or shootouts. I always had faith in him. I'm a Colorado fan, so I feel good when there's a breakaway happen, but he's, again, one of those goalies that can let in the momentum-sapping goal at the end of the game, the softie that trickles in, and then you end up losing the game because of it. So it's all situational.
Now, so here's an interesting thought. What if, a lot of times, a coach will switch up the goalies halfway through if the goalies let in 3, 4, 5, 6 goals, or not 10, but if they let in 5 or 6 or whatever it is. So they switch up the goalies halfway through the game. I wonder, or it would be curious to see a backup goalie who has like a shootout specialty, because you have your face-off specialty guys, you have your power play special guys, you have, all of these players on the ice who have these specific roles who are on the team because they're really good in special situations. Why not have a goalie who's a really great goalie in a shootout? You know what I mean? Like, that would just be kind of an interesting, when we're going in and talking a lot about analytics and
yeah, I was going to say, that's
how you play your game. And we've seen it where goalies are, on the bench after when they're about to go into a shootout, and they're looking at replays from previous games from those teams so that they know, like, okay, if this player comes after me, I know how they're going to shoot. I know which side that,
right.
And they're studying more. It's like, why not have a backup goalie who happens to be and mold him and train him to be a shootout goalie? It kind of sucks because you hope you never come to that. And how often do you make it to the shootout every
right.
season? But, you've got all these other special guys on the ice. Why not make your goalie really, really good at something specific, so that when push comes to shove and you've got a young team that can't really pull it out in overtime, and it's going to go to a shootout, you put this other guy in, and he's going to make sure you win the game at the end of the day.
Well, and then you can always tailor, if you did that, you can always tailor your strategy to, like, be way more defensive come third period and overtime, and to get to the shootout, so that you're playing to get there. And that's kind of where the analytics do come in. Like, analytics are a tool, and that's something you can use it for. Obviously, the goalie would have to be good enough to play the whole game anyway, because he's going to get 20 to 30 games throughout the season.
Yeah.
So he can't just be a shootout specialist, but I think it's been done, actually, where the goalie got switched just for the shootout. The risk you run there, too, though, is that the goalie's cold, so unless you trust the guy to be focused and, like, ready to go.
Yeah.
Then that's the risk you run. But
exactly.
It's very interesting. But, like, yeah, talking about analytics and using them as a tool rather than, like, the law. We talk about the Florida Panthers with Gerard Gallant firing.
Making a decision based entirely on analytics is ridiculous and a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's like, so many players talk about how, and coaches talk about, it's all about heart. It's about, feeling. It's about knowing and that gut instinct. How can you make a decision by making a decision based on analytics solely? You have thrown everything out the window. No matter what Gerard Gallant has said, every other coach, every other player, you completely disregard what they've said about playing the game of hockey.
Yeah, like we just said, like, Gerard Gallant is one of the most respected people in the hockey world. He's, from all accounts, from what I've heard, I've spoken to Doug MacLean about him. He's a super nice guy, and the players obviously love him. Everyone was shocked, just the way he was treated too, and the fact that they were on the road. And rumor is that he had to find his own way home and all that.
A rumor, that a cab came up and picked him up, or whatever the rumor is. Yeah, it's like, you don't treat someone in your family that way.
Yeah. It's unprofessional.
Absolutely.
At the bottom line.
And entirely unprofessional. And what does that do for player morale? It sinks the team. When your team's already not amazing, and not having an incredible season, and then you just shrink morale even more by saying, yeah, okay, we're getting rid of your coach. We're not going to tell any of you. He's just not going to get on the bus. And you're left there saying, why? We want answers. What does that do to you? And then you have to go play a game the next day?
Yeah.
Come on. And
it just doesn't make sense. Like, the Florida Panthers came off one of their most successful seasons in the last 20 years. They've got a few injuries to start the year. And now they looked like they're on the way up, and now it's like just uncertainty. It's like, I think they're going to lose the room, like you said. Like, I think because of analytics in baseball and analytics in hockey becoming so big now, I think people are forgetting that humans play sports and not computers. Exactly. And there's a huge factor when it comes to chemistry and team bonding and all of that. And I think they've completely lost that and have kind of just ignored that factor.
Absolutely. And you see that in the draft, too, and in the combine. The combine is meant, to take a look at how these young kids are doing. And it's meant to take a look at, how do they perform physically? What kind of shape are they in? But then there's also, hours and days of interviews with teams so that coaches and scouts can get to know the player and say, is this player going to be a good fit on my team?
Right.
You can be the most in shape guy, but at the end of the day, if it comes down to picking Austin Matthews or Patrick Laine, how is this guy going to get along with, or the next one or something? How is this player going to get along with my team? How is he going to work under this coaching system? How is he going to work under the administration? And you get to know the player as a person. So with it, choosing analytics over a person is choosing your cell phone over your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever. It's like, no, you're going to pick that human connection.
Exactly.
And it just, it's such a disappointing thing. I mean, at the same time, though, maybe there are things we don't know. Maybe there were other issues.
There's a lot of things we don't know. And ultimately, I think what I've read and heard is that, like, if they're using analytics to alter their team's strategy on the ice, and he didn't want to do that because he's the coach and he wants to have a say in team strategy, then obviously there's a different philosophy and he doesn't fit into what they're trying to do. But ultimately, there's a time and a place to fire a coach, and there's a way to do it, and it was just all done in really bad taste. And,
absolutely.
And you like, think in any job, you work for the person. You don't work for, like, if you have a good boss, you want to be better because, you want to perform for them.
Yeah.
Not just because for yourself or for the company or whatever. So I think it's the same thing in any industry. So, yeah.
So where will we see Gerard Gallant in the future? I mean, I'm sure he'll have there are opportunities for him. No one's going to leave him on the sidelines. No other team will leave him on the sidelines because, there's enough of a camaraderie and a feeling towards him. You don't leave someone like that behind.
Yeah, if he wants a job within a year, I'll have one. It'll be interesting to see if some coaches currently have a shorter leash because there's a nice replacement out there. To bring back Colorado, like when Patrick Waugh left them in the summer, if Gerard Gallant was on the table, it probably would have been done in a week.
Absolutely,
yeah. But obviously the Golden Knights, I think, are probably going to try to jump on him
that's what I'm
as soon
thinking.
as possible.
It's like, why go to Vegas? You can stay in a warm climate. and
nice dry, nice, good for the arthritis. I don't know. Hopefully Gerard doesn't have any of that.
But I mean, Gerard has been part of a franchise that is in a place that a non-traditional hockey market. Vegas is a non-traditional hockey market.
Very true.
So, he might be their best option as far as, this is how you build a team, this is how you create a team, and you can be part of this from the ground up.
And he's a player's coach. So it's like they're going to be all cast-offs from other teams. So whoever goes in there really needs to say, listen, guys, because it's not going to be fun to go to Vegas as a player. You're going to be like, I was unwanted. And I guess it'd be nice to be drafted in the expansion draft, but to be exposed by your team, it's kind of a slap in the face. So whoever goes in there has to really mold the room and bring them all together and say, listen, we're the underdogs. Let's go get them.
I see this being a whole Team Europe.
Yeah. Similar.
Whole Team Europe, same idea.
Same idea,
whole bunch of
a little bit.
Guys who don't really fit anywhere who are going to come up, and, maybe we'll see maybe we'll see something incredible happen in the first season. Who knows? Like Team Europe. Team Europe blew everybody away, ended up in the finals, which was unprecedented and unheard of. Maybe Vegas will just come together as these cast of misfits that aren't really misfits at all. They're good coaching. If Gerard Gallant is at the helm, we could see something pretty incredible come out of Vegas, which would turn all of us naysayers into yes-sayers.
And
it's terrible. That was really terrible. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I got it.
Oh, at least one person got it.
If it's funny how fast things change too. Like if you told me before the season that Gerard Gallant would be fired for one, and that, I mean, mind you, it's early, but Tortorella might be in the running for the Jack Adams, I think everyone would say you got it flipped. It's the wrong. Got to put it the other way around. So.
Well, we will see. We will see. And this sort of. This brings us to another point in our little chat here, where we call Sound Off.
Sound Off.
Sound Off.
Controversy.
More controversy in the league. Garret Sparks. Garrett Sparks has returned to the Marlies. He returned yesterday, which was on Saturday, for those of you whenever you're listening. But, the circumstances around his suspension were not, were a little rough. There was a lot of people for the organization, a lot of people on Garrett's side. So here's where we're going to talk for each a minute. We're going to give each other a minute to talk, and then you guys get to vote on how you feel, what side you're on, or if you completely disagree with both of us. So here we go.
So Storie agrees with the suspension.
I do. I entirely agree with the suspension. I think as a member, as a professional athlete, regardless of where you're saying, what you're saying, who you're saying it to, you can't say something disrespectful online, on social media, no matter what you're defending. You know, there's a way to defend someone and there's a way to not defend someone. And Garret Sparks took the wrong way. He used a number of expletives. It was aggressive. It was mean. It was degrading towards women, as you want to, if you want to pull that into it, which I don't think is necessarily the big part of it. But his suspension was entirely valid. You need to know, as a professional athlete, you have a certain way to conduct yourself. And if you're going to go and just be that aggressive and blow out that much on social media, I can't trust you on the ice to not do the same. And you're going to be someone that we rely on and someone we look to on the ice. If you're exploding on social media, I think that you're going to explode on the ice, and you need to know how to conduct yourself in person, on social media, as a representation of that organization. So suspension, totally valid, 100% valid. He's back now. It wasn't really all that bad at the end of the day. He learned his lesson. Hopefully he'll never do it again. End of story.
See, where I have a problem with it is because, if they said you're suspended one game, whatever, that's fine. They came out and said you're suspended indefinitely, which that was what got me interested in the story anyway. I said, whoa, what did he do? Because indefinitely could mean a very long time. Obviously, that's the definition of the word. But it turned out to be very short. But I just think this is where I really hate social media these days. People, you can't be yourself. Athletes, people, whoever, in powerful roles or in the popular world, they can't be themselves. They're not robots. And the fact that he said some things that he could have worded better and whatever, but the reason he was doing it was for a very good reason and valid reason. He was coming to someone's defense, a disabled person's defense, and just that, I think, is being forgotten in the whole. I think what you do, you bring him in the room, you have a chat with him, say, yes, you need to be smarter on social media, but to suspend him indefinitely, I get it was short, and just bring that kind of attention to him, I think is worse for the team than what he did. It was a closed group. I know that doesn't really mean much, but goalies are emotional people. I wouldn't mind having an emotional goalie. Patrick Waugh was an emotional goalie, and he's probably the best of all time, you could argue. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not agreeing with what he said. I think people are way too sensitive these days, though, and people just need to kind of get over it. But I understand as an organization why they suspended him or why they had to take action, but they could have just gone about it in a better way. And I don't fault Garret Sparks for kind of being himself and giving his opinion.
So Colin's kind of on the fence.
Yeah, but
I'm for the organization. Either way, go onto social media, go onto Twitter, go onto Facebook, and vote for whose side you're on. Or give us another option. Maybe you're in the middle, maybe you're on one side, maybe you're on the other. Maybe you have a completely different opinion. So
keep it interesting, Garrett.
Keep it interesting. And you can find all of those links down in that little description.
Don't let them hold you down, Garrett.
I still love you, Garrett. I still love you. Your first game in the NHL, your shutout, gotta love you. But, watch yourself on social. I'm watching, Colin's watching, we're all watching. There's too many eyes. You just got to be careful. If you're going to go and say certain things like that, it's going to get out there, and you have to be aware as an athlete to do that. Anyway, so going on to, let's move to the other side of the world. Let's move to Germany.
Where are they now?
Where in the world is Brendan Prest? So Brendan Prest surfaced finally in Germany.
Yeah,
with the Nuremberg Ice Tigers.
Ice Tigers, what a great name.
It is a great name.
I don't really understand it. Again, it's one of those things like the Golden Knights, but
Ice
it's a cool,
Tigers.
But Ice Tigers, at least it's more, what's an ice tiger? But I like it.
It would be a saber-toothed tiger.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That would
but then
be-
why not just say the Sabertooth Tigers?
Oh, that would be a really great name.
But yeah.
Okay,
so
either way,
we're gonna
Nuremberg
check
Ice
in.
Tigers. Brendan Press, we
Yeah.
found you finally.
Hope he does well.
I hope he does well too. What I'm kind of curious about is I don't really know how his style of play fits into the European model.
Especially on that big ice. It's gonna be it's gonna be really hard for him to, keep up, I think. And he's gotta work on his cardio. Brandon, I hope you're working on your cardio.
Yeah,
to keep
it's
up.
going to be a lot less enforcer
Yeah.
and a lot more skill, which for me being a fan, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, for me being a fan, I don't love the idea of an enforcer, only because I feel like if you're going to have a career in the league and you're going to have a long career in the league, an enforcer's place, it has its place, but man, you got to protect your head. And an enforcer and someone like Brendan Press, at the end of the day, their head's not being protected. And, do I want them to suffer from the results of multiple concussions? No. So, him going to Germany, I love him as a player, and I kind of, it's too bad he didn't get to stick around with the Leafs a little bit longer. But this is going to force him to play skillfully, develop himself as a player, and who knows? Maybe we'll see him back in a year.
It's happened before.
Yeah, he goes away. It's like when you go and get sent down to the AHL, and you're there to go develop your skills, get a little bit more confidence back. Maybe this is just his version of the AHL, although he's already been there. But now he can go over to Germany, learn some new things, learn some new tricks.
Yeah, why not? Take a little hiatus in Germany, go see Europe a little bit. Sounds like a good idea.
Well, and get that experience, and maybe and then and improve his skill versus strength, and then come back and play in the league as an actual skilled player and put up some better points. So, or we just see him fizzle out and we never see him again, which
could go either way. I think Brandon will be okay though. I think one of the reasons he stayed in the league so long in his role was because he does have some skill and he could play. He wasn't a one-dimensional guy. He could play on the PK and stuff like that. But I think I agree. It's a less skilled league, obviously, so he'll probably be in a bigger role and he'll probably be put in offensive situations. So I think it'll be good to try to boost that offense a little bit, and hopefully we see him back on this side of the pond.
Yeah. I'd like to see some Brendan Press.
He's a likable guy, right?
He really is. And he loves Toronto, and he's he's got a great personality, and he's fun, and he chirps people, but he also gets involved in conversations. He's a really smart guy, and he's being smart by saying, and he loves hockey. He loves playing hockey. He's not done. He's 32. He's not done playing hockey. So he's he said it in the summer, I'm going to go wherever I can get a job. And, Germany came knocking, and I'm proud that he took it. I'm proud that he didn't stick it out and try to stay in the NHL, go back and forth from the AHL to the NHL. I'm glad that he found his place.
Job security.
It is. It's another year where he can play, and another year where he can make a little bit of money, and again, hopefully he develops his skill a little bit more. Like you said, he'll get more minutes, and hopefully he'll come back. I hope this isn't the end. I'm really, really hoping this isn't the end of us seeing Brendan Press, and I don't think it will be.
Gotta respect a guy that sticks up for his teammates night in, night out. So.
Absolutely.
Carlo Koliakova just went over there too.
Oh.
Another former Leaf.
There we go.
That's another story.
For another day. So we're going to finish this off with a final word. A final thought. World Juniors.
It's December.
It's December. So on top of your holiday shopping and your holiday excitement, the holidays come with the World Juniors.
In Toronto. It's going to be a big deal.
Oh my God, that is a big deal.
It's going to be interesting to see who gets lent to the World Juniors by their
Absolutely.
NHL team because, we talked about last time, there's probably an oddly large amount of rookies in the NHL this year. So
there are a lot of players who
are
could
still
go.
eligible. Yeah. So obviously, Finland, they're not getting Laine. Could they get Puljujärvi? Depends on how he's playing at the time. Team Canada, we've got Chychrun in Arizona, we've got Krause in Arizona, we've got Konecki in Philly, all important in their own way on their team right now. So, what do you think as an NHL franchise? What would you do as the GM?
Oh God! If my player was playing well, I'd keep him. I just say, sorry, bud, you're going to have to make I wouldn't even give them the choice.
Even if they could be a huge part of that team, maybe even in a leadership role with a letter on their chest and be on a winning team and maybe
That doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't do anything for you as an NHL franchise. You got to keep those guys and those points.
They're important games, though.
They are important games. They're important games for the player.
Because,
I don't think they're important games necessarily for the league.
Oh, no, not for the NHL. But like I said, your young players need to learn how they need to perform in those big moments so that it translates when they come back to the NHL. And, I mean, if you're a team like Arizona, who's not going to make the playoffs by any stretch of imagination at this point, what's the harm, really? But
yeah, well, no, if you're, I think you have to kind of play it by ear. I don't think, and I think it's a discussion between the coach and the player.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want and if you're a player's coach, like Garret Sparks, then you talk to your player and you say, what do you want? What's going to make you happy as a player? Because you're also, on the flip side, if you're going to stop a player from going to the World Juniors, and that's what
and they really want to go,
they really, really want to go, what's that going to do for morale?
And relationship down
the road. So, you're going to, take a player that was really useful to you and great for you to have, and then you say, no, you can't go to the World Juniors because this team needs you, and the guy's like, man, I hate this. Maybe you're looking at a trade a lot earlier than you thought you were going to.
I think that's the best approach to take, too. Talk it over with the players, see what's best for their development and future on your team, and to go from there.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of puts Hockey Canada in a tough spot, too, because they're just licking their chops. They're hoping. And then they have to kind of have contingency plans in place.
With so many young players in the league this season, it's going to be it's going to be a great Team Canada. It's going to be a great chance to see some of those hot players on the ice, but it's going to be a tough decision for Hockey Canada to make, for the NHL teams to make, for everybody to make. It's probably going to be one of the hardest rosters to fill for so many reasons.
And the Americans are losing Austin Matthews, Zach Werenski, so they're going to take a big hit. Every team.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that, will the Leafs let Austin Matthews
Not
go?
a chance.
Exactly. So it's at that point, which is great for Team Canada.
Yes.
Totally happy about that one.
And
Just because we're and the Leafs, it's we really don't want to lose Team Canada. Or we don't want to lose Austin Matthews rather, and we want a strong Team Canada. And it's oh, sorry, no, you can't have him.
I'm okay with that.
Mike Babcock is right. Remember who runs Canada?
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
I do, and I say no. And to be honest, Austin Matthews, playing in the World Juniors, he's.
Oh, yeah.
I just feel like
I'm pretty sure Connor McDavid could still play in the World Juniors, so that would just be silly.
That would be. Oh my god! All right. Well, that was the final word.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It will be. Can't wait for the rest of December. It'll be great when the rosters come out and all of this anticipation and excitement can come to an end, and then we can all just start planning our holidays around hockey.
It's holiday season. Be kind to each other out there.
It is. Yeah. Be nice. Be kind. Take a nice
Go
chat.
the extra mile.
Give a friend a stick.
There you
I don't know. There you go. Okay, that was the NHO show. I'm Storie.
I'm Colin. Nice chatting with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out.